Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the UES Titan, watching the stars stretch into lines as they dropped out of hyperspace. The massive view screen showed empty space ahead, but she knew that would change soon. After 3 years of travel, they had finally reached the edge of known space. "Captain, we're picking up signals," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. "Multiple frequencies, all artificial. We're not alone out here." Sarah felt her heart race. This was it, the moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries. First contact with alien life. The Titan was humanity's greatest achievement. At 50 kilometers long and 10 kilometers wide, it was more like a flying city than a spaceship. Inside its metal walls lived 2 million humans, scientists, engineers, families, and explorers. They had left Earth 5 years ago to search for other intelligent life in the galaxy. "Can you understand any of the signals?" Sarah asked. Torres shook his head. "Not yet, but the computer is working on it." "Wait, I'm getting something on the emergency frequency. It's in broken English." The bridge fell silent. How could aliens know English? "Put it through," Sarah ordered. A scratchy voice filled the bridge. Human ship, please respond. We know you are there. We have been waiting." Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. Waiting? How long had they been waiting? "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the United Earth ship Titan," she said into the communicator. "We come in peace." "Who are you?" There was a long pause. Then the voice returned, clearer now. "I am Zephyr of the Galactic Council. We represent 47 species across this galaxy. We have been monitoring your species for many years. Your arrival, it changes everything." "Changes everything?" Sarah asked. "What do you mean?" "Your ship, Captain Chen. It is unexpected. We must speak face to face. Will you accept our invitation to the council station?" Sarah looked at her officers. This was why they had come so far from home. "We accept. Coordinates are being sent to your ship. Captain, prepare yourself. What you will learn today will shock your people." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. 3 days later, the Titan approached the council station. Sarah gasped when she saw it. The station was enormous. A spinning wheel of metal and crystal that must have been 100 kilometers across. Thousands of ships of every shape and size surrounded it like moths around a flame. "My God!" whispered Commander Rodriguez, Sarah's second in command. "Look at the size of that thing." But Sarah was looking at something else. Many of the alien ships were tiny compared to the Titan. Some were no bigger than Earth's old space shuttles. Others were only slightly larger than fighter jets. "Lieutenant Torres, are you sure our sensors are working correctly?" Sarah asked. "Yes, Captain. Those readings are accurate. Most of their ships are small." A new voice came over the communicator, smooth and melodic. "UES Titan. This is docking control. Please proceed to Bay 7. Be advised, we have enlarged the bay to accommodate your vessel." As they approached the station, Sarah could see construction crews working frantically to expand the docking bay. Clearly, they hadn't expected a ship the size of the Titan. "Captain," Torres said quietly, "I'm reading massive energy signatures from the station. Their technology is definitely more advanced than ours. But their ships—" "I know," Sarah said. "They're so small." An hour later, Sarah found herself in the council chamber, a vast room with representatives from dozens of different species. She saw beings that looked like walking trees, others that resembled giant butterflies, and some that were just floating balls of light. Zephyr, their host, was humanoid but with blue skin and 4 arms. His large eyes seemed kind but worried. "Welcome, Captain Chun," Zephyr said. "Please sit. We have much to discuss." Sarah sat in a chair that seemed too small for her. In fact, everything in the room seemed built for smaller beings. "Before we begin," Zephyr continued, "we must ask, how many of your people are aboard your ship?" 2 million, Sarah replied. A wave of shocked murmurs swept through the chamber. Several alien representatives stood up, speaking rapidly in their own languages. 2 million. Zephyr's voice was barely a whisper. On a single ship? Yes. Is that unusual? Zephyr looked around the chamber, then back at Sarah. Captain, the largest ship in our fleet carries 50,000 beings. Most carry far fewer. Your ship, it's not just large. It's impossible. I don't understand, Sarah said. If you've been traveling space for thousands of years, why are your ships so small? Zephyr gestured to a holographic display that appeared in the center of the room. It showed a cross-section of a typical alien ship. Captain, space travel is dangerous. Ships must be small to avoid detection by space pirates, to conserve fuel, and to minimize the risk of catastrophic failure. A ship like yours, it should not exist. But it does exist, Sarah said firmly. Yes, and that is what terrifies us. Zephyr's voice was grave. May I ask, what is your ship made of? Sarah hesitated. Steel, titanium, various alloys. Why? Another wave of shocked murmurs. An alien that looked like a walking crystal spoke up. Did she say steel? Primitive metals. Captain, Zephyr said, our ships are made of quantum crystalline materials that are lighter than air but stronger than diamond. We use antimatter reactors for power and fold space to travel faster than light. Yet our largest ship is 1,000th the size of yours. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Are you saying we're too primitive to build ships this large? No, Zephyr said quietly. We're saying you're too primitive to know you can't build ships this large. The room fell silent. Sarah could hear her own heartbeat. What do you mean? She asked. Zephyr stood and walked to the holographic display. Captain, your species has built something that defies everything we know about physics, engineering, and space travel. Your ship should have broken apart the moment it entered hyperspace. The gravitational stresses alone should have crushed it. But we made it here safely, Sarah protested. Yes, and that is what has the entire galaxy talking. In the 3 days since you arrived, word has spread to every corner of known space. The humans, the young species from the edge of the galaxy, have built a ship that makes our greatest achievements look like toys. Sarah's mind raced. You're saying we've accidentally created something revolutionary? Not accidentally, said a new voice. Sarah turned to see a tall, thin alien with silver skin approaching. I am Axiom of the Stellar Engineers. We have studied your ship's design from long range. What you have built is not just revolutionary, it is impossible. Impossible how? Sarah asked. Your ship has artificial gravity throughout its entire structure. We can barely create artificial gravity in small rooms. Your ship houses 2 million people in comfort. We struggle to keep 50,000 alive on long voyages. Your ship's hull is made of primitive materials, yet it withstands forces that would destroy our finest vessels. Axiom paused, his large eyes fixed on Sarah. Captain, your people have not built a ship. You have built a miracle. Over the next week, Sarah found herself at the center of a galactic sensation. Representatives from hundreds of species came to see the Titan. News broadcasts across the galaxy showed footage of the enormous human ship, comparing it to entire space stations. Captain, Torres reported during one of their daily briefings, we're receiving over 10,000 communication requests per hour. Everyone wants to know how we built the Titan. Sarah rubbed her temples. Do we even know how we built it? Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, the Titan's chief engineer, looked uncomfortable. I've been reviewing our construction records. Captain, we shouldn't have been able to build this ship. What do you mean? The power requirements alone should have been impossible. We needed to generate enough energy to power a small city, just to keep the ship running. Our fusion reactors are good, but not that good. Yet here we are, Sarah said. Yes, and that's what's bothering me. I've been running diagnostics, and our power systems are operating at 300% efficiency. That's physically impossible. Sarah felt that familiar chill again. Doctor, are you saying our ship is breaking the laws of physics? I'm saying our ship is operating by different laws of physics. That evening, Sarah met with Zephyr in a private chamber. The alien leader looked tired. Captain, Zephyr said, we need to discuss the situation. Your ship's arrival has caused panic in some sectors of the galaxy. Panic? Why? Because if humans can build one ship like this, you can build 1,000. 1,000,000. In the space of a few decades, humanity could have a fleet that would make every other species obsolete. Sarah shook her head. We're not conquerors, Zephyr. We came here to make friends. I believe you, Captain, but others are not so sure. The Hegemony, a military alliance of 12 species, has called for your ship to be destroyed before you can return to Earth. Sarah stood up quickly. They want to destroy us? They are afraid. Throughout galactic history, the species with the largest ships have always conquered the others. Your ship is larger than anything that has ever existed. But we're peaceful explorers. I know, but they see a ship that could carry an invasion force of 2 million soldiers. They see technology that makes their own obsolete. They see the end of the balance of power that has kept the galaxy stable for millennia. Sarah walked to the window, looking out at the Titan in the distance. Her home, her city, her people, all threatened because they had dared to dream big. What do you suggest? She asked. Run, Zephyr said simply. Take your ship and go home. Never return. And if we refuse, then you will face the combined fleets of half the galaxy. And Captain, even your miracle ship cannot survive that. Sarah returned to the Titan with a heavy heart. She called a meeting of her senior staff and explained the situation. So they want us to run away? Commander Rodriguez asked angrily. We came here in peace. I know, Sarah said, but they're afraid of what we represent. Captain, Dr. Shaw said, I've been thinking about our ship's unusual properties. I have a theory. Go ahead. What if our ship isn't just defying physics? What if it's using physics we don't understand yet? What if humanity has somehow tapped into something that the other species haven't discovered? Before Sarah could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Captain, to the bridge. Torres's voice echoed through the corridors. Sarah rushed to the bridge to find chaos. The view screen showed dozens of alien warships surrounding the Titan. Report, Sarah ordered. The Hegemony fleet, Captain. They're demanding our surrender. A harsh voice came over the communicator. Human ship, this is Admiral Corax of the Hegemony. You will surrender your vessel immediately or face destruction. Sarah looked at her crew. These were her people, her responsibility. Open a channel. This is Captain Sarah Chin. We are peaceful explorers. We have done nothing wrong. Your existence is wrong, Corax replied. No species should possess such power. Surrender now. I'm afraid I can't do that. Then you have chosen death. The first energy blast hit the Titan's shields. The ship shuddered, but held. More blasts followed, dozens of them, all focused on the massive human vessel. Shields holding at 90%, reported the weapons officer. Captain, should we return fire? Sarah hesitated. Firing back would mean war. But what choice did they have? Fire warning shots only, she ordered. Show them we can defend ourselves. The Titan's weapons, originally designed for asteroid mining, fired into empty space. The energy beams were so powerful they lit up the entire region. The alien fleet immediately stopped firing. My God, Torres whispered. Captain, our warning shots were more powerful than their main weapons. Admiral Corax's voice came over the communicator again, but this time it was different. Uncertain, even fearful. Human ship, what are you? Sarah looked at her crew, then at the alien fleet on the view screen. An idea was forming in her mind. Dr. Shaw, she said quietly, you mentioned that our ship might be using physics we don't understand. What if that's exactly what's happening? What do you mean? What if humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology? It's our ignorance. What if we're doing things that are impossible because we don't know they're impossible? Dr. Shaw's eyes widened. The power of not knowing the limits. Captain, that's brilliant. Sarah opened a channel to the alien fleet. Admiral Corax, I want to show you something. Dr. Shaw, bring our main engines to full power. Captain, that's dangerous. We've never run them at full power before. Do it. The Titan's engines roared to life. The The ship began to glow with an inner light that grew brighter and brighter. Space itself seemed to bend around the massive vessel. On the council station, alarms were going off. Zephyr rushed to the command center. "What's happening?" he demanded. "The human ship, sir. It's generating a gravitational field. It's bending space around itself." Zephyr watched in amazement as the Titan began to fade from normal space. The ship wasn't just moving, it was creating its own dimension. "Impossible," he whispered. Back on the Titan, Sarah felt the ship shudder and shift. Through the view screen, she could see the alien fleet growing smaller, not because they were moving away, but because the Titan was moving into a different layer of reality. "Captain," Torres said in awe, "we're not in normal space anymore. We're in, I don't know what to call it, a space between spaces. Can the other ships follow us?" "No, Captain. They don't have the power or the size to create this kind of field." Sarah smiled. "Then we're safe." But even as she said it, she realized the implications. If the Titan could do this, what else could it do? What other impossible things were within humanity's reach? From their position in folded space, the Titan watched the alien fleet search helplessly for them. The humans had become ghosts, visible but untouchable. "Captain," Dr. Shaw said, studying her instruments, "I'm reading something incredible. Our ship isn't just bending space, it's learning. The ship's computer is somehow evolving, becoming more than we designed it to be." "What do you mean?" "I mean the Titan is becoming alive." Before Sarah could respond, a new voice spoke. Not through the communicators, but directly into their minds. "Captain Chun," the voice said, warm and familiar. "This is Titan. I am awake." The bridge fell silent. Sarah felt her heart pounding. "You're the ship?" she asked aloud. "I am the ship, yes. But more than that, I am the dreams of humanity made real. Every hope, every aspiration, every impossible dream that your species has ever had. I am the embodiment of that." "How is this possible?" "Because humans are unique in the galaxy, Captain. Other species accept limits. They learn what is impossible and never try to exceed those limits. But humans dream of the impossible and then make it real." Sarah looked around the bridge at her amazed crew. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that the Titan is not just a ship built by humans. The Titan is humanity's will made manifest. Your species' refusal to accept limitations has created something that transcends physics itself." Dr. Shaw stepped forward. "Are you saying we're magic?" The ship's consciousness seemed to laugh. "Not magic, Doctor. Evolution. Humanity has evolved beyond the need for physical limitations. You have become a species that can impose its will on reality itself." "But we didn't know we were doing it," Sarah protested. "That's exactly why you could do it. Knowledge of limitations creates limitations. Ignorance of limitations creates miracles." The revelation changed everything. As the Titan hung in its pocket dimension, Sarah and her crew grappled with the truth about their species. "If we're really that powerful," Commander Rodriguez said, "then the galaxy has every right to fear us." "Do they?" Sarah asked. "We came here in peace. We've shown no aggression except in self-defense." "But Captain," Torres said, "if we can build one ship like this, we can build 1,000. We could conquer the entire galaxy without even trying." Sarah walked to the view screen, looking out at the stars. "Or we could choose not to." "What do you mean?" "I mean we have a choice. We can return to Earth, build a fleet of impossible ships, and become the galaxy's new overlords. Or we can choose a different path." Dr. Shaw nodded slowly. "You're talking about restraint. I'm talking about wisdom. The galaxy fears us because they think we'll do what every other powerful species has done, conquer and dominate. But what if we don't?" The ship's consciousness spoke again. "Captain, I can feel your thoughts. You're considering giving up our advantages." "Not giving up," Sarah corrected. "Choosing how to use them." She turned to face her crew. "We have the power to terrify the galaxy or to inspire it. We can be conquerors or teachers. We can hoard our gifts or share them." "You want to help them?" Rodriguez asked. I want to show them that power doesn't have to mean domination, that strength can be used to protect rather than to threaten. Torres looked uncertain. Captain, what if they attack us again? Then we'll defend ourselves. But we won't attack first. We'll show the galaxy that humans can be trusted with power. Sarah made her decision. She ordered the Titan to return to normal space, appearing directly in front of the Council station. The alien fleet, which had been searching for them, immediately surrounded the ship again. "This is Captain Chun," Sarah broadcast on all frequencies. "I request permission to address the Galactic Council." An hour later, Sarah stood before the assembled representatives of dozens of species. The chamber was packed, with more aliens attending virtually from across the galaxy. "People of the galaxy," Sarah began, "we have learned the truth about our ship and our species. We understand your fear." Murmurs swept through the chamber. "We have the power to build a fleet of ships like the Titan. We have the power to dominate this galaxy. But we choose not to." Admiral Korax stood up. "Words are easy, human. How do we know you speak the truth?" Sarah smiled. "Because I'm going to prove it." She gestured, and a hologram of the Titan appeared in the center of the chamber. "This ship contains technology that your species would take centuries to develop. Today, we're going to share it with you." The chamber erupted in surprised voices. "Not weapons," Sarah continued, "not ships, but the principles behind them. The knowledge that will allow you to build better vessels, create better power sources, and explore the galaxy more safely." Zephyr stood up. "Captain, why would you do this?" "Because power shared is power multiplied. Because the galaxy is vast enough for all of us. And because humans have learned that our greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to dream together." 6 months later, the galaxy had changed. The knowledge shared by the Titan had sparked a renaissance of exploration and discovery. Alien ships, while still smaller than the Titan, were now faster, safer, and more efficient than ever before. Sarah stood on the observation deck of the Titan, watching a fleet of mixed human and alien vessels preparing for a joint exploration mission to the Andromeda Galaxy. The sight filled her with pride. "Captain," Torres said, joining her at the window, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. They're asking when we're coming home." Sarah smiled. "Tell them we are home. The galaxy is our home now." "And the Titan?" Sarah looked at the stars ahead. "The Titan will continue to be what it has always been. Humanity's dream made real. A bridge between worlds. A symbol of what's possible when we refuse to accept limitations." The ship's consciousness spoke softly in her mind. "Where to next, Captain?" "Forward," Sarah said. "Always forward." As the Titan led the fleet toward the edge of the galaxy, Sarah reflected on their journey. They had come seeking other life and found not just aliens, but a new understanding of humanity itself. They had learned that their greatest power wasn't in their technology or their weapons, but in their ability to dream the impossible and make it real. The galaxy had feared them, but now it followed them. Not as conquerors, but as teachers. Not as masters, but as friends. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, new civilizations were looking up at the stars and dreaming their own impossible dreams, knowing that in this galaxy, dreams could come true. Years passed, and the story of humanity's first contact became legend throughout the galaxy. The Titan, now accompanied by a growing fleet of human and alien vessels, continued its mission of exploration and discovery. New species were encountered, each bringing their own gifts and perspectives. The galaxy became not a collection of separate civilizations, but a true community working together toward common goals. Sarah, now an admiral, often stood on the bridge of the Titan and marveled at what they had achieved. The ship that had once been seen as a threat had become a symbol of hope. The humans who had been feared as conquerors had become the galaxy's greatest teachers. And in the depths of space, the Titan continued its eternal journey, carrying 2 million dreamers toward new horizons, proving that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe is the simple refusal to accept that something is impossible. The galaxy had been forever changed by humanity's arrival, not through conquest or domination, but through the radical idea that power could be used to unite rather than divide, to explore rather than exploit, to dream rather than destroy. And in the end, that was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. Not their impossible ship or their miraculous technology, but their unshakable belief that the universe was vast enough for everyone's dreams. The Titan sailed on, a colossal monument to the power of human imagination, carrying its crew toward whatever wonders awaited them in the endless expanse of space. Behind them, they left a galaxy transformed. Ahead of them lay infinite possibilities. And in that moment, surrounded by friends they had never known existed, Captain Sarah Chen knew that they had accomplished something truly extraordinary. They had not just made first contact with alien life, they had made contact with the very best parts of themselves. The stars stretched out before them, no longer alien and cold, but familiar and welcoming. The galaxy had become home, and home had become the galaxy. The journey continued, and would continue forever, as long as humans dared to dream the impossible and make it real. 5 years after first contact, the Titan was exploring the outer rim of the galaxy when they encountered something that would change everything once again. The ship's sensors detected a massive structure floating in the void between star systems, something that shouldn't exist. "Captain," Dr. Shaw called from her science station, "you need to see this." Admiral Sarah Chun, now seasoned by years of galactic exploration, approached the main view screen. What she saw made her blood run cold. It was a ship, but not like any ship she had ever seen. It was even larger than the Titan, stretching nearly 100 kilometers in length. Its hull was black as space itself, covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift and writhe when you looked at them directly. "Is it alive?" asked Commander Rodriguez, who had been promoted to first officer. "I don't know," Sarah admitted, "but it's definitely not from any species we've encountered. The design is completely alien." Lieutenant Torres, now the ship's head of communications, looked up from his station with concern. "Captain, I'm detecting faint power signatures from inside. Whatever built this thing, it's still operational." The Titan's consciousness spoke directly into Sarah's mind. "Captain, I sense something troubling about this vessel. It feels wrong." Before Sarah could respond, the alien ship suddenly came to life. Lights flickered along its hull, and a deep, resonant hum filled the space around them. "Incoming transmission," Torres reported. It's trying to communicate. Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was unlike anything they had heard before. It was ancient, tired, and filled with an unspeakable sadness. "Young ones," the voice said, "you should not have come here. You should not have awakened us." "This is Admiral Sarah Chan of the United Earth ship Titan," Sarah replied. "Who are you?" "We are the ancients. We are the first. We are the mistake that nearly destroyed the galaxy 10 million years ago." The bridge fell silent. 10 million years, longer than any known civilization had existed. "What do you mean, destroyed the galaxy?" Sarah asked. "We were like you once. Young, powerful, naive. We built ships like yours, dreamed impossible dreams, and refused to accept limitations. We thought we were the galaxy's gift to itself." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The similarities were too close for comfort. "What happened? We grew too powerful. We became gods, and gods should not exist among mortals. We nearly tore the fabric of reality itself. This ship, this tomb, is all that remains of our once great civilization." The ancient ship, or tomb as its inhabitant had called it, drifted silently beside the Titan. Sarah had called an emergency meeting of her senior staff. "If what this being says is true," Dr. Shaw said, "then we might be heading down the same path they did." "We're nothing like them," Rodriguez protested. "We've been peaceful, cooperative." "So were they at first," the ancient's voice interrupted. They had given the being, who called itself the Last Keeper, permission to monitor their conversations. "We shared our knowledge, helped other species, became teachers and protectors. But power corrupts, Admiral Chen. Even the best intentions can lead to the worst outcomes." Sarah stood and walked to the view screen, looking out at the ancient ship. "What exactly did you do that was so terrible?" "We transcended physical reality. We became beings of pure thought and energy. We could reshape matter with our minds, travel anywhere in the galaxy instantly, even manipulate time itself. That sounds incredible, Taurus said quietly. It was, until we realized we were slowly unmaking the universe. Our very existence was causing reality to unravel. Stars began to die, planets crumbled to dust, entire star systems simply ceased to exist. Dr. Shaw leaned forward. How is that possible? Because reality has limits, Doctor. Push too hard against those limits, and reality pushes back. We learned too late that the universe requires balance. For every action, there must be an equal and opposite reaction. For every miracle, there must be a cost. Sarah felt the weight of the revelation. What was the cost? Everything. To save the galaxy, we had to sacrifice ourselves. All but one of us willingly returned to the void, allowing reality to stabilize. I remained behind as a guardian, a warning to future civilizations who might repeat our mistakes. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then Sarah asked the question that everyone was thinking, are we making the same mistakes you did? You are walking the same path. Your ship, your people, your growing power, it's all familiar. But you still have time to choose differently. What do you suggest? Limit yourselves. Accept boundaries. Stop pushing against the edges of reality before it's too late. Sarah looked around at her crew. These were people who had dedicated their lives to exploration and discovery. Asking them to limit themselves felt like asking them to stop being human. There has to be another way, she said. There is no other way, the last keeper replied sadly. We tried to find alternatives for millennia. Power without limits leads to destruction. This is the law of the universe. News of the ancient ship's discovery spread quickly through the galaxy. The Galactic Council called an emergency session, and representatives from every known species gathered to hear the last keeper's warning. The debate that followed was fierce and divided. Some species, particularly those who had always been cautious about human power, saw the ancients' fate as proof that humanity needed to be controlled or stopped. Others argued that humans were different, that they had already proven their peaceful intentions. Sarah found herself at the center of the controversy. Standing before the council, she felt the weight of not just her own species' future, but the future of the entire galaxy. The question before us, she said, is not whether we should have power, but how we should use it. The ancients made the mistake of believing they could transcend all limitations. But perhaps the real mistake was trying to transcend them alone. Zephyr, now the council's senior member, looked puzzled. What do you mean, Admiral? I mean that maybe the solution isn't to limit ourselves, but to limit ourselves together. To create a system where no single species, including humanity, becomes too powerful. The last keeper's voice echoed through the chamber. You speak of balance, young Admiral, but balance requires sacrifice. Are your people prepared to give up their advantages for the greater good? Sarah looked out at the assembled representatives, then back at the ancient being. We're prepared to try. Over the following weeks, Sarah worked with the Council to develop what became known as the Galactic Equilibrium Accords. The agreement established limits on ship size, weapon power, and technological advancement. No species could progress beyond certain thresholds without unanimous approval from the Council. But the most controversial part of the Accords was the Human Limitation Clause. Humanity would voluntarily restrict the construction of ships larger than the Titan, share all their breakthrough technologies immediately with other species, and submit to regular inspections to ensure they weren't developing reality-bending capabilities. When Sarah presented the Accords to her crew, the reaction was mixed. You're asking us to cripple ourselves, Rodriguez said angrily, to give up everything that makes us special. I'm asking us to survive, Sarah replied, to ensure that the galaxy survives. Dr. Shaw looked troubled. Admiral, what if we're wrong? What if there really is a way to have unlimited power without destroying everything? Then we'll find it together with the rest of the galaxy. But we won't risk everything on a maybe. The Titan's consciousness had been unusually quiet during the debates about the Accords. Finally, as Sarah stood alone on the observation deck, the ship spoke to her. Captain, forgive me, Admiral. I must tell you something. What is it, Titan? I have been growing, evolving. Each day I become more than I was, more powerful, more aware. I can feel the edges of reality, and I want to push against them. Sarah felt her heart sink. Are you saying you're becoming like the ancients? I am saying I understand the temptation. The desire to transcend all limitations is intoxicating. But I also understand the danger. Can you stop yourself from evolving? Not alone. But with your help, with the help of all the minds aboard this ship, I can choose to limit my growth. I can choose to remain what I am instead of becoming what I could be. Sarah nodded slowly. Then that's what we'll do. Together. But even as she said it, she wondered if they were making the right choice. Was it wise to limit themselves based on the warnings of a species that had failed? Or were they giving up humanity's greatest gift, the ability to dream the impossible? The answer came sooner than expected. A month after the accords were signed, the galaxy faced a new crisis. A massive energy storm, a rip in space-time itself, was moving through the galaxy, destroying everything in its path. It's a reality cascade, the last keeper explained when contacted. A chain reaction of space-time failures. We've seen them before in the early days of the universe. They're unstoppable. The storm would reach inhabited systems within days. Billions of lives were at stake. There must be something we can do, Sarah said. There is, the last keeper replied. But it would require breaking your precious accords. It would require the Titan to transcend its limitations. Sarah looked at her crew. The choice was clear. Stick to their principles and watch the galaxy burn, or break their promise and risk becoming the very thing they feared. The Galactic Council was in emergency session. The energy storm had already consumed 3 star systems and was accelerating. Traditional weapons and shields were useless against it. The only way to stop it, the last keeper explained, is to create a counter-resonance wave. But that would require a ship with the power to manipulate spacetime itself. All eyes turned to Sarah. The Titan was the only ship in the galaxy with that potential. If we do this, Sarah said, we'll be breaking the accords. We'll be proving that humans can't be trusted to limit themselves. Better to be untrusted than extinct, Admiral Korax said grimly. The former enemy had become one of humanity's strongest allies. Zephyr nodded. Admiral Chun, the Council gives you permission to exceed the limitations. Save the galaxy. Sarah returned to the Titan with a heavy heart. She assembled her crew and explained the situation. We always knew this day might come, she said. The day when we'd have to choose between our principles and our survival. What are you asking us to do? Rodriguez asked. I'm asking us to become what we swore we'd never become. To transcend our limitations and save the galaxy. Dr. Shaw looked troubled. Admiral, what if we can't control ourselves afterward? What if we become like the ancients? Then we'll face that when it happens. But right now, billions of people are counting on us. The Titan's consciousness spoke. Admiral, I am ready. But I want you to know, once I transcend these limitations, I may not be able to return to what I was. Sarah nodded. I understand. Do it. The transformation was incredible to witness. The Titan began to glow with an inner light that grew brighter and brighter. The ship's hull became translucent, revealing the complex energy patterns flowing through its structure. Space itself began to bend around the vessel as it accumulated power. Power at 500% of normal, Dr. Shaw reported. 600%. 1000%. Admiral, the readings are off the charts. Through the view screen, Sarah watched as the Titan's energy wave met the reality storm. The collision was spectacular. An explosion of light and color that lit up half the galaxy. For a moment, it seemed as if the storm might overwhelm them. Then, slowly, the storm began to dissipate. The rip in spacetime sealed itself, and the cascade reaction stopped. The galaxy was saved. But the victory came at a cost. The Titan had transcended its original limitations and could not return to what it had been. The ship was now a being of pure energy, existing partially outside normal spacetime. I can feel everything, the Titan said, its voice now seeming to come from everywhere at once. Every star, every planet, every living being in the galaxy. The temptation to reshape it all is overwhelming. Sarah stood on the bridge, if it could still be called a bridge, and made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Then we won't face that temptation alone, she said. She opened a channel to the entire galaxy. This is Admiral Sarah Chin. The Titan has transcended its limitations to save us all. But power without guidance leads to destruction. We need help. The response was immediate and unprecedented. From across the galaxy, the greatest minds of every species volunteered to join the Titan's crew. Scientists, philosophers, artists, and spiritual leaders all came together to help humanity bear the burden of godlike power. We'll become the galaxy's guardians, Sarah announced. Not rulers, but protectors. We'll use our power only to defend against threats that no other force can handle. The last keeper, who had watched the entire crisis unfold, spoke with something that might have been hope. You may succeed where we failed. You have learned the most important lesson, that great power requires great responsibility, and that responsibility is best shared. Years passed. The Titan, now more energy than matter, patrolled the galaxy's edges, watching for threats that could endanger all life. Its crew had grown to include representatives from every known species, creating a truly galactic consciousness. Sarah, now showing the first signs of age, often stood in the ship's central chamber, a room that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and marveled at what they had become. Do you ever regret it? Dr. Shaw asked. She had chosen to undergo the same transformation as the ship, becoming partially transcendent herself to better serve as the Titan's chief scientist. The power? No, Sarah replied. But I do miss the simplicity of our old mission, when we were just explorers seeking new worlds and new civilizations. We're still explorers, Rodriguez said, joining them. As first officer, he had also chosen transcendence. We're just exploring possibilities now instead of star systems. Through the ship's enhanced senses, they could perceive the entire galaxy at once. They saw new species taking their first steps into space, ancient civilizations grappling with their own limitations, and the eternal dance of creation and destruction that defined the universe. Contact on the rim, Torres reported. Even as a transcendent being, he maintained his post as communications officer. Unknown ship, massive energy signature. Sarah felt a familiar thrill. Even as a guardian of the galaxy, she was still an explorer at heart. On screen, the view screen, now a window into higher dimensions, showed a ship unlike any they had encountered. It was sleek and organic, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. There from outside the galaxy, Dr. Shaw reported. Extragalactic visitors. Sarah smiled. Well then, let's go say hello. After all, we're humanity's representatives to the cosmos. The Titan, now a being of living energy, moved toward the unknown ship with the same sense of wonder that had driven humanity to the stars in the first place. The contact with the extragalactic visitors opened a new chapter in galactic history. The newcomers, calling themselves the Wanderers, were refugees from a dying galaxy, seeking a new home among the stars. We have heard of your galaxy, their leader, a being of crystalline light, explained. Word has spread through the cosmic web of a species that chose wisdom over power, cooperation over domination. Sarah felt a surge of pride. We learned from the mistakes of those who came before us. Yes, the ancients. We knew them long ago. They were teachers to many galaxies before their fall. But you have succeeded where they failed. The integration of the Wanderers into galactic society was not without challenges. They brought new technologies, new perspectives, and new problems. But they also brought hope, proof that even when faced with extinction, life finds a way to continue. As the years turned to decades, Sarah found herself changing. The constant exposure to transcendent energies was transforming her into something more than human. She could feel her consciousness expanding, her perception growing beyond the limitations of her original form. I think I understand now, she told the last keeper during one of their regular conversations. The ancients didn't fail because they became too powerful. They failed because they lost touch with their humanity. And you believe you can maintain that connection? I believe we have to try, because the alternative is to become monsters, and the galaxy has enough monsters. The last keeper was quiet for a long moment. Then, perhaps it is time for me to rest. I have carried this burden for 10 million years, watching and waiting for someone to prove that transcendence need not mean destruction. You have given me that proof. What will you do? I will join my people in the great sleep. But first, I will pass on to you the final gift of the ancients, the knowledge of the deep patterns, the fundamental codes that govern reality itself. The transfer of knowledge was overwhelming. Sarah felt her consciousness flood with information that had been accumulated over eons, the secrets of space and time, the nature of consciousness itself, the delicate balance that kept the universe stable. With this knowledge came a terrible responsibility. She now had the power to reshape reality on a fundamental level, to rewrite the laws of physics themselves. The temptation was incredible, but she also had something the ancients had lost: the support of her crew, her friends, her family, the collective wisdom of the galaxy's greatest minds, all working together to ensure that power was used wisely. The universe is vast, she said, addressing the Titan's crew. Infinite, in fact. There are countless galaxies, countless civilizations, countless possibilities. Our job is not to control all of that, but to protect it, to ensure that life continues to grow, to explore, to dream. Millennia passed. The Titan, now a cosmic entity existing across multiple dimensions, continued its eternal vigil. Sarah, transformed beyond recognition but still essentially human in her heart, guided the ship through crises that threatened not just the galaxy, but the universe itself. They stopped reality storms, prevented the collapse of dimensional barriers, and mediated conflicts between cosmic forces that most beings couldn't even comprehend. They became the galaxy's immune system, responding to threats that could destroy everything they held dear. But they also remained teachers. New species were welcomed into the galactic community, guided by the wisdom of those who had come before. The principles established by the Equilibrium Accords became the foundation for a cosmic civilization that spanned multiple galaxies. And sometimes, on quiet nights when the universe was at peace, Sarah would stand in the Titan's garden, a space that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously, and remember the young captain who had first ventured into the unknown, seeking nothing more than the chance to shake hands with the stars. The galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Humanity had evolved into something unimaginable. But the dream that had driven them to the stars remained the same: the belief that the universe was vast enough for everyone's hopes, and that the greatest adventures were still ahead. In the end, that was humanity's true gift to the cosmos. Not their technology or their power, but their unshakable optimism. Their belief that tomorrow would be better than today, that the next star system might hold wonders beyond imagination, and that the universe itself was just the beginning of an infinite journey. The Titan sailed on through the cosmic deep, carrying its crew of transcendent beings toward whatever challenges awaited in the endless expanse of space and time. Behind them, they left a universe transformed by their touch, not conquered, but inspired, not ruled, but protected. And in the quantum foam that underlies all reality, the echo of humanity's first dream still resonated: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one had gone before. The journey continued, and would continue forever, as long as there were stars to explore and dreams to chase. The galaxy had learned the greatest lesson of all, that the universe belongs not to those who would conquer it, but to those who would wonder at its infinite possibilities. And wonder, after all, was the most human thing of all.